Joining me today to discuss cybersecurity is Francis Cianfrocca, who's the founder and Chief Technology Officer at Bayshore Networks. Welcome, Francis.
Great to be with you, Sid.
Industrial cybersecurity includes a broad range of solutions these days. So could you just give us a little overview of what Bayshore Networks does and how you're different? And where you fit?
We do what we like to call industrial strength cybersecurity. All right, so we are here to help companies to protect their industrial control systems that are starting to have connections to IT networks, and also to help them to leverage the move to the industrial Internet of Things, but to do it in a safe and secure way. And so we've been at this for about 5 years now, and it's longer than people have been using this term, industrial Internet or Internet of Things. And so what we see a lot of people nowadays, they're starting to think, let's do visibility, let's figure out what kind of devices that we have that are connected to networks. But what we've found over the years is what people really want and need to do, okay, is to block certain transactions coming over the network to the industrial machines that might create unsafe conditions, right? So it's a larger question than security, but to do that, you need to be able to inspect at the data level. Okay, and so that's a difference between what we do and what others do.
Oh, okay. We've spoken before, and you mentioned about some IT things in the background. And could you, one thing we see a lot today is the convergence of IT and OT. And is that something that Bayshore is into and can assist people with?
Yeah, absolutely. That's such an important point. I mean, IT and OT convergence is the reason that we're talking, is because industrial production now it generates so much information and data that you can make it available and derive a lot of business value from it.
One of the things that we see driving a lot of companies your size and your type of companies is partnerships.
Sure.
Is that something, can you give us a brief overview of your strategy for partnerships and maybe what you're working to do?
Of course. So we're technology focused, okay, but if you think about it, it's the industrial internet, all right? So it's industrial and it's internet. All right, so in our partnership strategy, we work with companies that do industrial devices, industrial systems, such as Yokogawa. We also help people to seamlessly integrate data with applications, okay? And the people derive a lot of benefit from that, and our job is to enable it securely and safely, and we do that through partnerships.
One of the things I see in my research, again, is that for years, it was a struggle to get companies to take cybersecurity seriously.
Yeah.
I sense, and the feedback I get is that it's getting easier and people are starting to get through funding. And I just want to get your feedback based on what you're seeing in the market, if you're seeing that or not.
Yeah, such an important question. I think it's driven very, very much. I would say just in the past year, really, people in large companies, that's our customer base, are paying a lot closer attention to cybersecurity as it relates to industrial production. And I think there's two things really driving it. All right, one of them, obviously, there's a strong perception that these systems are vulnerable, right? And if you attack them, you're exposed to a lot of risk. So that's pretty basic, pretty fundamental. But the other thing is a growing recognition that if you do the IT-OT convergence that you mentioned, okay, and you start sharing information with customers and partners, it's transformative, tremendous amount of business value that comes from that. But if you're going to do that, right, if you're going to share information, all right, with customers and partners, you got to know where it's going and how it's being used.
One of the big things here at this conference in particular is the industrial Internet of Things. And I know that that's one of your focus areas. Could you speak about how you can enable people to protect IoT devices?
So again, there's a major split between in the IoT, which people think of as consumer devices, smart refrigerators and things like that, right? I know very well that I want my refrigerator sending out Facebook messages and tweets when, it thinks it's empty, okay? But on the industrial side, the industrial Internet of Things, it's very clear that people, these are critical assets, the most critical assets in any company, okay? Much more critical, really, if you think about it, than IT assets. It's what you run your business on. You make automobiles, you make electricity, you make gasoline, all right? This is the stuff you need to protect at all costs. And so there's a tremendous recognition that if you're going to be sharing those assets, you do it in a safe and secure way. At the same time, right, you don't want to change them because they're working really well. Okay, General Motors is one of my favorite companies. They've been making automobiles for 100 years now, a little more than 106, 108, something like that, right? And they don't need to change what they do on the production side. But if you're going to be connecting people in so that you're sharing information to get a tremendous amount of value out of that, then put some security in front of it that's specific to the industrial production. And so there's a distinctive thing, and I know this is part of your research. How do people who are really good at IT security, how do you make the transition and transfer those skills and those practices over to OT? It's different, okay? A lot of it's the same, okay? A lot of the mindset is correct, but there's some distinctive things like the emphasis on safety, all right, and process availability, process uptime, different mindset. And people who are going to do this have to come together. The IT people, good at cybersecurity, the OT people, good at making things and keeping everybody safe, all right? They got to come together, and it's a different set of, perspectives. One of the reasons we've been successful, all right, at Bayshore, I think tech companies really struggle with this. They tend to come from either one orientation or the other. We've been really, really good and really fortunate at bringing them together, and that's, I think, why we've been successful.
Okay. Well, thank you, Francis.
Okay,
It's been a pleasure
great
talking
pleasure.
to you. We've been speaking with Francis Cianfrocca from Bayshore Networks. Thank you for watching.